I guess I lived under a rock or something, but I'd never heard of this place until 2015 when I was up at Caldwell, and my wife and I got a ride on the B-17s, and they said, well, if you like old aircraft, you should go up to Old Rhinebeck. And I said, what's that? So we've been up there 3 times now, and I've gotten 2 rides along the Hudson. It's a real thrill to experience it, and I recommend it wholeheartedly. So I have a few pictures, and then I have some videos to show you. So let's see how this goes. Okay, where is Old Rhinebeck? It's up about 2 hours from here. You have to go up the thruway, Northway, 287 to around Kingston, and then you get off at exit 19 and you cross the Rhinecliff Bridge and you swing in on a vine, because it's really complicated. But if you use your GPS or whatever, you can find it. But it's off the beaten path. And when you get close, you start seeing billboards like this, so you know you're in the right place. And that's what the entrance looks like after you park your car in the woods, and you walk across a old covered bridge. I left everyone on the table a layout, and the layout's changed a little bit since 2016. They had a fire down near the runway in the gift shop, and they've since built a new building which includes modern bathrooms. Before they just had outhouses, if any of you have been up there. And so it's quite nice. And let's see, now this has a pointer, if I can get this. Hey, it works. Okay, up there, parking is here. So you're coming in from this way. Your parking is here. Up, you pay, you go here and you buy your tickets. I think you put something on your wrist or something. And you go back up the hill. It's quite a little walk, so anybody with difficulty walking might have difficulty. But there are 3 old hangars at the top, and then a modern building, and that's the museum. These are the planes that are not airworthy. The ones that are airworthy are down here along the runway, which is a grass runway, and there are other displays here, snacks, and a gift shop, a restroom. And this is in the weekend in the afternoon, around 2 o'clock or so. This is where the air show is. You sit on these boards on cinder blocks, very comfortable. This is the museum hangars up at the top of the hill. It's worth walking up there. It is a little, my wife had knee trouble, so it's a little difficult for her. And inside you'll find some amazing artifacts. I just have a few pictures of things. My eye caught this because I went to school in Nebraska, my wife's in Nebraska, and over in the side here, it says Nebraska Centennial, which was 1967. So apparently this plane was used back then. And it was, above it, it says first night airmail in Nebraska. So they also have, I think this is a replica. I don't think it's an original Wright Flyer. It's got the motor on there and everything. It has the place where the pilot would lay down on the wing. I should have asked, how many people have been to Old Rhinebeck? Raise your hand. Wow, look at this. It's incredible. You guys should be doing this talk. This is the new building at the top of the hill. They have all kinds of displays. You could spend a lot of time here just going through all of it. We went up one Saturday morning, and there was this man was giving a talk, and it turns out he's from Parsippany, New Jersey, and he's a lawyer, and he just loves aircraft. He's building a Fokker DR-1 triplane, and he shows the blueprints he's using, and he runs the air show. He designs the show for the Sunday afternoon, I believe, and he is the Red Baron on one of those air shows.
He's the pilot?
He is the pilot, the Red Baron. This is a Great Lakes, I have to look at my cheat sheet here. 1931 Great Lakes, there were only 200 built, and it flew back in the 70s and 80s, I guess. This is the man who gave the talk, and he was explaining that in the early years of building triplanes, that the top wings sometimes broke because they thought that the wing loading would be equal, but no, the top wing is taking most of the load, and so they had to redesign things. Does anyone know his name? I didn't write it down, so I missed it. This is the new building that was right on the runway there. It's a beautiful building. And this is the Ryan hangar down on by the runway, and this is where the Spirit of St. Louis was built, the replica, which you'll see later on. I have a video. And it was amazing to see it built. It took over 20 years on and off. This is a shot of some of the airworthy planes that they use in the air shows. And you see they have some signs that says Paris over on the left there.
Are these in the hangars, during the week?
I think so, yes. I've only been up there on Saturday or Sunday, so I can't tell you what goes on during the week. By the way, they are closed now. They open May 1st, and the air shows start in June. They have a lot of old trucks and cars driving around, which is kind of fun. I think in the summertime they have college kids working there, and it must be a real thrill for them. But when they refuel the aircraft, the ones I've seen, they hand crank at the top. There's a crank there, and they actually hand crank the fuel into the aircraft. So there's an example. This is a Taylor Cub. I took pictures of the signs. They need to these signs I think were painted by Cole Palen way back when. They need to be updated. This is the Jenny, JM. There were thousands of these built, and they were used around the world. They were been in many, many movies. Right? Everybody recognizes those? Nice. Anybody pilot? Anybody fly in one of those? No?
Bob said the one prior, go back to the other one.
Yeah.
That's where you learn how to fly.
That's when I learned to fly.
Wow, that's great.
In college, right?
Wow.
Yeah, in college.
In college?
Yeah.
That's great.
Wow. What year was that?
1939.
Wow, that's brand new. Cool. Now the next was Curtiss D. This is really a unique looking airplane, 1911. Let's see what I have written down. It was used by the Army and the Navy. How'd you like to ride in that? It's like sitting on a lawn chair on the wing, right? You hope that all the wires don't hold up, right?
That looks like something I designed.
Yeah. And I think I read that this actually took off from an aircraft carrier, an early aircraft carrier. They tried that.
Were the wheels steerable?
Yeah, it's a single.
Yeah, the first aircraft that flew off a carrier was a version similar
Similar to that, one of the versions, yeah. I think it's bamboo, right? It looks like it's amazing. There's a picture of it flying. I got that from the internet. I have not seen that fly.
Wow, that's not you, is it?
No.
Curtiss was quite an innovator. I was reading on my Kindle this morning about Curtiss, and he started out making bicycles and motorcycles. Then he fooled around with aviation, and then later in life he made house trailers. He was really an innovator. The Embryo, I think I'm saying that. It's French. The fuselage looks like a racing skiff.
You said Curtiss?
Yeah.
Is he the one that made the F4U
Don't know.
that the Navy Marines flew? Is it Curtiss F4U?
I don't know. I know that Curtiss was always battling the Wright brothers in court because the Wright brothers wanted to basically patent aviation.
Yeah. It was equivalent or better than the P-51, the Curtis F4U.
Okay. The Henriot, if I'm saying that word right, 1910, French, and it did not have ailerons, it had wing warping. Everybody know what wing warping is?
Wow.
It had two sticks. There's a video I saw online, I don't have it. One stick controlled the elevator, and the other stick controlled the wing warping. And the tail, you know, left to right. There's a picture of him flying. He's got two sticks. Lots of wire. Look at all the wire holding it together. Next was the Albatross, German, 1918. And this looked like a piece of art, furniture. It's a beautiful piece of furniture. Look at that. Look at the wood on that. Looks like a flying barrel, doesn't it?
Wow.
Okie dokie.
Next was the French Spad 7, I guess that is. And there were quite a few built. Let's see what I have about this. It was a fighter, but it had machine guns. I don't know if this one was synchronized, so it wouldn't, or the early ones, I think they had to put metal sheathing on the propeller so it wouldn't shoot their own propeller off. But this might have been synchronized so that it would shoot between the blades.
Did that be breaking back or?
I don't know. This one's a French one.
The German plane?
No, this is the Spad, French Spad. This is an example of the air show, and if you've been there, I don't think it's changed. It's the same boards on cinder blocks they've used for 50 years. And this is the, I guess it's the control tower. I don't think they have radios on the plane, so I don't know if they use flags or what.
They yell.
They yell a lot, right? Scream. You know. There's an example of the three planes just taxiing off the airfield. Behind them, you notice there's sausage factory, their Bad Boys bar, I guess it is, and they have Fifi's lingerie shop. Now they drop rolls of toilet paper and see how many times they can cut it before it gets to the ground, and it's pretty amazing. This was, I think this shot is from Fokker D7, Mercedes engine. Pretty spectacular plane. I have a video of this later. They're saying it was the most feared aircraft during World War I.
Yeah, that's what Arthur Raymond Brooks flew against.
Is that right?
Yeah, he came up against 8 of them at one time.
Wow.
Yeah, attacked by 8 and shot down 4.
And they have some formation flying in the afternoon. Those of you who've been to the air show, I don't think this has changed too much. They also have an old tank, World War I tank, which chugs along at about 2 miles an hour. Here's some shots. These are Fokker D7 and a Fokker DR1, I believe. Yeah.
These all privately owned?
Well, they're owned by Old Rhinebeck. I assume that they're owned by the association. Now, if you want to fly, some people don't have the courage to do it. I don't know. This one guy I took up in 2016. He was scared to death. He says, "I'm not going on that." I said, "Well, I'm going." Anyway, so it was $75 when I was there. It's since increased to $100. They fly 15-20 minutes along the Hudson River. They fly along the Rhinecliff Bridge. It's spectacular. I have a video of that pretty soon. You have to wear these wonderful caps and goggles. And this is the plane. It's a little confusing. It's called the New Standard D25. I've seen dates 1928, 1929. I've seen different engine horsepower, 220, 225. But anyway, it is the J5 rotary engine, and it is the 9-cylinder, and the engine was rebuilt in 2013, so I felt pretty confident that it's going to work. And that's what it looks like. When you climb in, have any of you had a ride on this? Anyone? Anyway, when you have to step up on a little step ladder and you have to swing your leg into it. My wife couldn't do that because she had knees replaced, but it takes a little bit of a contortioning to get in. This is the pilot, and I think the next slide I have, his name is Clay Hammond. He's the chief pilot, VP, and his business is aircraft sales. He grew up, I think the next slide, yeah, it says that his parents worked for Cole Palen, and that his first ride, he was 5 weeks old. He sat on his mother's lap on a J3 Cub. Anyway, he's a pretty neat guy. My second flight, I think I gave him a tip the first time. The second flight, I think he recognized me, and he tipped the plane left and right so I could look straight down. It was a thrill. Maybe if I didn't give him anything, he'd go upside down. I don't know, drop it down. And the last thing they've done, worked a 20-year project. I have a video that explains this, but it's a spectacular achievement that they built this replica, the exact same engine, and I have a video of that. So, save the date, 60th anniversary, and looks like I have to refocus. Hang on a second.
I think it's all right.
Not focused, but it's off the screen. Well, maybe when we get the video running, we'll see what happens. Looks like it's out of focus to me.
It's worse now.
Yeah.
Could you go back just before the Spirit St. Louis? That airplane looked like it might be the one that our Keith Ferris's dad piloted whenever Keith was little, late 20s, early 30s. And would any of you here know if that's what Keith's
I'm not messing with it, I'm looking at it.
I think that aircraft is a later.
It's out of focus.
I'm going to change it.
Okay.
But I know what you're talking about.
Keith painted it?
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
B12.
Hello, my name is Jim Hare. We're here at the Old Rhinebeck Aerodrome, Rhinebeck, New York. I've been involved here at the aerodrome since 1982, and I've been interested in vintage aviation and airplanes in general since I was a little kid, like most people here. The aerodrome was started back in 1959 by a gentleman by the name of Cole Palen, who was able to purchase 6 World War I airplanes from Roosevelt Field down on Long Island. And with that initial collection of 6 airplanes, he set a course on his life to preserve not only those 6, but this entire collection that now numbers around 60 aircraft, related vehicles, motorcycles, engines, memorabilia, a little bit of everything. In order to make the aerodrome a little bit different from any other aviation museum, Cole Palen wanted to fly as many of the airplanes as possible. And he started back in the early 60s taking some of these World War I airplanes out on the road, towing them to various military air shows around the Northeast, and that's how he got his initial exposure. The aerodrome is one of the few places in the world where you get to see these vintage aircraft fly, and you're right alongside of a grass runway and a very, very natural setting. It's not like a big commercial type airport. Very, very different. when you walk through the covered bridge that goes over to the airfield, you really do take a step back in time. And you see the vintage airplanes take to the skies just the way they did back in the days of World War I and earlier. We have a few airplanes from the 1909, 1910 era that we still hop the length of the runway. Not very high or very far or very fast, but they do still fly. A number of World War I aviation aircraft, some powered with their original engines from that time period, and quite a few airplanes from the 1920s and 1930s. In the air show, it's a lot of fun. It's whether you have an interest in aviation or not, it's a very interesting show. It's a little slice of history, a little slice of a very bygone era you just don't get to see anymore. And it's awfully nice to be a part of the preservation of that aviation history. The aircraft collection here at Old Rhinebeck Aerodrome, on any given air show season, we try to keep about 10 to 12 airplanes airworthy for people to come and see fly. That comes with an awful lot of work. First step is the restoration of the airplane, or in some cases, the airplanes are built from scratch. We have a number of World War I airplanes that are built from original plans. We try to power them with original engines where possible, and then to make them fly. It's always something always needs to be done. And we do have some incidents where repairs need to be needed. At one point, it was estimated that for every hour of flying time, it was 10 to 12 hours of maintenance, if you really average it all out. Our latest project, just completed and test flown December 5th, 2015, is an exact reproduction of Charles Lindbergh's Ryan NYP, New York to Paris, the Spirit of St. Louis. That airplane was a 20-year project, believe it or not. Actually, really a 10-year project. It was backburner for a number of years. But there's probably, I won't estimate exactly how much, but thousands of man-hours go into recreating one of these vintage airplanes. And they're relatively simple aircraft to build. They're pretty straightforward. It's a labor of love for many of our staff here, and we've got a great core group of volunteers that are skilled as well, not only in the aircraft maintenance, but all the antique vehicles that we operate as well. The collection of airplanes at the Aerodrome essentially was gathered over the years by Cole Palen from the years of about 1956 or so when he started, right up until his passing in 1993. He would not hesitate to trade an airplane. If he saw one that he wanted more, he would make a trade. And that is, he began to have a little success with the air shows and began to make a little bit of money here and there. Everything was invested back into the collection. So if he had a good air show season, say back in the mid-60s or early 70s when things were rolling pretty well here, he was able to afford to buy another airplane. He would go out around the countryside. The word was out that he was a collector of vintage airplanes, and if he could afford to buy one, he would. Whether it was a flying airplane or one that needed to be restored, or even a basket case. So every dollar that came into the Aerodrome, it pretty much went back out to build up the collection. As I say, it went from 6 airplanes to start out with to 50 or so that are in the collection now. The airplane that we're sitting in front of is one of the favorite aircraft of Cole Palen's. He loved to fly this. This is called a Great Lake Sport Trainer, built out in Cleveland, Ohio. Introduced in 1928 and then built through 1929 up to about 1931. Like many of the aviation companies back in that time, they were a victim of the Great Depression. But after Lindbergh crossed the ocean in 1927, there was a great aviation boom here in the United States. And the Great Lakes is a typical biplane of that time period. Pretty compact little airplane. It has a 4-cylinder inline, 125 horsepower Monasco Super Pirate engine. 2-place airplane, sits 2 tandem. Fully aerobatic, and Cole would always take this airplane up on our Saturday show, participate in our balloon burst, and then he would climb up to about 2,500 feet and give an old-style 1930s aerobatic routine, doing loop-the-loops and slow rolls, inverted flight. And on these early engines, there's no fuel pump on it, so when the airplane would roll upside down, it would be starved for fuel. You'd hear the engine cut off, and you roll it back up, right? The fuel would flow back and it'd fire back up. That always got people's attention in the show. But it's a delightful airplane to fly, and I think he enjoyed flying the Great Lakes probably and certainly as much, if not more, than many of the other airplanes.
I've got a few videos, so hopefully I won't get too sleepy. This is an interview with
In 1929, my father lost his job, like everybody, so many people did. In 1929, they went back to the farm, and the farm was next to the airport. I was 3 years old, and that's where I grew up. And that was the beginning of my fascination for airplanes.
When did you start flying?
Started flying in 1947, and it cost me $62.50.
That's what it costs to get a license or to learn how to fly?
To learn how to fly. 8 hours of dual instruction and 5 minutes by myself in the air.
Captain's log, stardate 1958. Sputnik and Explorer have just launched the space age, and in Rhinebeck, New York, Cole Palen has just launched his aerodrome.
Well, it's sort of just plain evolved. I thought this might be a home for my old airplanes, but not with the idea of using the old airplanes. The idea was grassroots airport, we fix the airplanes, we rent airplanes, we tie down all these little things that make up a grassroots airport.
How large is your collection?
There's about 50 airplanes that look like airplanes. And there's others that are in bushel baskets that don't look like airplanes, but they're airplanes.
How did you get the idea for this aerodrome museum?
Before I even was collecting airplanes, I knew that there was a beautiful collection in England called the Shuttleworth Trust, and that they were flying World War I airplanes. And so when I was able to acquire 6 World War I airplanes from Roosevelt Field in 1951, I felt that, well, maybe I could really get one flying.
What about the romance of flying?
Well, if I was 20, I would say the romance of flying is the speed and the noise and the girls and all of this. But now in my
30. Now that you're 30.
now it's green grass, blue sky, fine old airplanes to work on, and pleasant people for the most part.
Are you going to take me for a ride?
Hear that thunder?
Well, do you fly in bad weather?
No, I'm not.
Good, neither do I!
We didn't fly right away. The rain came and the thunder. The heavens opened and a pelting downpour had Cole and his crew scrambling to get the delicate cloth and wood planes under cover. Then, miraculously, the skies cleared, and we took off in a 1929 new standard British-made biplane.
And it is great. Okay. This is a 1909. I think this is the oldest one they fly.
1909.
It looks like it isn't finished. Wing warping. This crossed the English Channel. This is the plane that crossed the English Channel for the first time.
You have a plane on no skin on it that shows you what actually matters to the plane.
This is a replica, I believe. It's just getting it to the end of the runway where they'll take off in a minute. I'd like to fly that, Bob. Here we go. Hope hope he has his insurance paid up. I was reading on my Kindle this morning, there were 3 people trying to cross the English Channel. They're all lined up. One, the engine quit halfway across. Another one crashed, and this guy made it. Now, he didn't land in one piece. The plane smashed, basically, because when he got on the English side, there was so much wind, it spun him around, and he just said, "That's it, I'm down." But he did cross.
What year?
1909, I think. Oh, now you like that plane? Wait till you see this one. This is the French. Rotary engine. And I got a video that explains it. This explains it.
Now first, there's a difference between a rotary engine and a radial engine. So the rotary engine, the whole set of cylinders rotate.
The crankshaft is fixed and it's hollow. The fuel
radial engine, the cylinders are fixed.
That's the radial engine. The fuel goes through the center of the crankshaft. Fuel air mix.
There you are, voila.
Here it is.
Put more gas in it. I not only down through the aerodrome, I'm also the mechanic, so I have to give advice sometimes. There it goes. Alright. There we go. Alive and kicking. Alright, let's see if we can get a flight. I don't want to call drone G3 into 80 horsepower rotary engine. This is another wing warping aircraft. So there's no flat ailerons on the wing. They simply twist like the Honda did to give you control. And because of that wing warping, we will not take this airplane out and round on the pattern, especially on a day as windy as it is today. 14, called drone G3 and its 80 horsepower Lerone rotary engine. Once again, the pilot using a flip switch to control the speed of the engine. There's no throttle on that engine.
Did you get that? There's no throttle, there's a switch. It shorts out the magneto on one of the cylinders. This is a Fokker D7. The most feared plane in World War I, yeah, I think he says. Mercedes engine.
aircraft of World War I, the only airplane to be singled out in the armistice that ended the war, the Allied powers demanded that Germany turn over or destroy every Fokker D-7. That's how feared they were as fighting machines. They were so capable that D-7s actually equipped the air forces of several European countries. Big round of applause for naval captains in our Fokker D-7. The original 1918 Mercedes aircraft engine from World War I.
That's when Arthur Raymond Brooks fought. He fought 8 of them.
Really?
Yes, they jumped him, and he shot down 4 before he was able to get back to his own lines.
My problem with these things,
How
trying
did
to
you
think
shoot
of
'em down
how
with
do you
missiles?
know that the
No, there's
wires and the wood and everything is not
Fokker D
ready
R1.
to fail?
you know, he was in the spot 13. Yeah, the machine guns.
This is the triplane,
this is pretty
the Snoopy
severe.
plane.
Pretty like that. Yeah, no power. Anything over 100 feet is heavy.
They're dropping bombs. Shooting at each other.
Looks like the Baron's taking a hit. Yes, black smoke. Crew running to get in position to assist the aircraft should it need it. Here comes the Baron. Let's see if he can get her on the ground in one piece.
There's a lot of drama in these shows.
A little bouncy, but a nice straight landing of the Fokker triplane. Coasts to a stop.
Fokker DR1. Now this is my flight, the flight I took. It's worth the money, believe me. If you haven't been in a biplane, try this. Now this is the actual flight. The couple behind me, she was having a blast. She wanted to go again. He wanted to stay on the ground. The pilot's way in the back, see him? And I was right behind the engine. I didn't have to wear the goggles so I could run the camera. It was once you got in the air, it was pretty smooth. It was the ground that was so bouncy. Here we go. Beautiful.
That guy's looking a little green.
Yeah, he was not a happy camper.
And he's saying he was like you and your great idea.
You're talking into this, right?
How fast were you going approximately?
I have no clue. Anybody know the airspeed of 100 miles an hour? I don't know. I had my camera on a monopod, so I just kind of turned it around.
My gallic rev usually 70.
70? Yeah. I don't think it's that fast. At the end, it's really neat. He basically almost cuts the engine and just slides in. You'll see it in a minute or so. That's amazing. Yeah, she said, I want to go
Looking
again.
around and he's going for the heart.
Her mask looks like it's about ready to come off though. My second flight, he did some tipping. Now this is the Hudson River, and we're going to fly along the Rhinebeck Ridge. So I don't know what altitude it is. Can anybody know how high we were? I have no idea. Here's the Rhinebeck Ridge. 1,000 feet?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's below controlled airspace then, I guess, right? I did some editing, so the landing is coming up not too long. That was the best part. We just kind of just glided right in. You'll see, cuts the engine along. Now we're coming in. Where I was sitting, it was not windy at all, but they were farther back, so they were in the wind. There, now listen.
Oh. Your airplane?
This is what I wrote in, yeah. Here he cuts the engine, it's just gliding in. That's the airstrip.
So he doesn't get a second chance, right?
No.
What is your airstream?
I have no clue. I don't think, maybe there is no air. No. Remember, he was 5 weeks old when he got his first plane ride here. So he knows what he's doing. He rode on his mom's lap.
I'm guessing 40 to 45.
Yeah. Okay. I spliced together some so you can see what it's like. And you know, the engine never shut off. It ran all day long. He just stopped, get another load of people, just ran all day long.
That had to be exciting for you.
It was a thrill. I went on it twice. Okay, we're almost done. Okay, that was... Okay, one more. This is the Spirit of St. Louis. This is pretty neat.
Back in the late 1970s, Cole Palen purchased the standard D25s that we're now using for rides. And in amongst all the parts and pieces was one original Wright Whirlwind J5 radial engine, the same engine that powered the Spirit of St. Louis. It was then that he decided to build the Spirit of St. Louis, and now in 2016, that dream has become reality, and that engine is powering our Ryan MYP.
Knows every cloud, the sight of the sun makes the multitude proud.
did some editing. This was like a half-hour video. Here, look at the side. There is a periscope. Yeah. You see the wind the speed indicator on the back picking up, spinning around?
How many hours did Lindbergh stay awake in that airplane?
It was 33 hours, 33 and a half hours.
36. 36 hours.
Now there's a parting comment. There's a comment here at the end I want you to listen to. The very end.
It must be really nice to have had a co-pilot like Cole Palen.
Oh yeah, yeah, he helped me through the first landing. I asked for his advice. But yeah, he's watching over all of us here, I think. So.
Up in the sky, there on indeed is my time. Fearless, knows every sound. The sight of the sun makes the mother feel proud. The feeling right over known. In a little plane of his own. The feeling jumps away and he's a
over at oldrhinebeck.org.
That's all I have. It's worth the trip. They've raised the price. It's now $20 for seniors and military. Otherwise, adults are $25. I think that's gone up about $10 since when I was there. But it's still worth the trip.
Does that support the operation?
I don't. They must have some benefactors. I think there are on their website. They have a list of a lot of people who have donated, maybe foundations as well. Yeah.
Do you have to have reservations to fly or to attend the show?
The 2 times that I've flown, we left early. I think we left like at 7 o'clock. We got there when it opened at 9, and I got my name in there right away. I think it fills up very quickly, even at $100.
Can you pre-register?
There is something online that you can do something like that, but if you do, you probably have to pay ahead. You know.
And the other thing is, you don't need reservations just to go up there. Usually you can get in.
No, it's only if you want to fly. If you want to fly on the biplane. It fills up probably in an hour or so.
Which booking it in?
May. Opens in May.
Opened, not to fly. I'm sorry, the museum, maybe, I don't know. The museum opens May 1st. The first air shows, which are in the afternoon, are in June 7th, I think I saw.
What's the admission fee?
What does it cost to get in? It's $25 for adults, but if you're military or senior, it's $20. Now, if you go during the week, it's only $8, so it's very reasonable. But you can't, they don't have any air show on the weekday.
Can you fly the Spirit of St. Louis?
No. I have not seen that flying. I got the video from online.
I'd like to do it for my 100th birthday.
Yeah. That was really beautiful plane. It was interesting seeing it built. The time we were there, we saw it in the museum. I mean, in the hangar being worked on. They were working on it. They had a can out front, put your $10 in or whatever donation, which we did. The wing on that is so huge. You see, that's how it worked. I mean, that wing is gigantic, right?
Maybe if you offered them enough money, he might let you do it.
You'd have to offer them an awful lot of money. I don't think there's too many replicas, are there?
No.
That fly.
Stu, you had to have a lot of fun putting this presentation together, especially the videos were very...
Yeah, I used Adobe Premiere to do some splicing, editing and stuff, so it was fun. It was fun.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.